A bill in Salem that would require big tech companies to pay local news outlets for sharing their work has passed out of committee and now heads to the full Senate for a vote. But at least one lawmaker says he's concerned that it violates the Oregon Constitution. Senate Bill 686 would require tech companies to pay online news providers to use their content. How much they would pay is up to the news outlet and the tech company to decide together. In a work session yesterday, 3 Democrats voted in favor, saying it is a potential solution for local news companies losing money.
You know, I think this bill addresses a huge foundational problem in our economy that goes way beyond media. This bill addresses one dimension of a phenomenon where the internet age and capabilities have turned us into an economy where the large internet platforms, those who have the data to target us and to reach us most easily, are extracting much more wealth than the creators of the product that they're selling.
Senator James Manning Jr. says he's heard from tech companies who are not happy about this bill. A similar law passed in Canada, and Meta, which owns Facebook and Instagram, has blocked news content on those platforms in that country because of it.
My office was visited by Meta and a few others, and they came in threatening. I don't like to be threatened. So I don't even talk to them. And to say that, well, if you do this, then we're going to do you like Canada. That's not how a successful corporation does business.
Republican Senator Daniel Bonham, the Senate Minority Leader, voted against the bill in committee, saying he thinks Oregon content would get blocked online, like the Canada example, and that the bill as written is unconstitutional.
It absolutely violates the Constitution, in my opinion. I am no constitutional scholar, but I've read the document and I have read our oath of office, and I don't see how we could put this forward with the explanation that we'll let the courts decide with the evidence that we have from our own paid attorneys.
Legislative Counsel testified that the bill could potentially violate free speech, and it could be considered a taking where the government takes private property. The Democratic senators on the committee said they support the bill anyway and are fine letting the courts decide on constitutionality. We'll keep following the bill to see if it advances. Meanwhile, though, a team from Washington State University is taking a bird's eye view of the local news ecosystem in the state of Washington. In their study published last month, they say the local news landscape there is a, quote, worsening crisis with dire implications for democracy. They mapped out news outlets by county in Washington. No surprise, Seattle has the most, but several counties are considered news deserts for how little coverage they have, especially in eastern Washington. Many counties there only have 1 or 2 news outlets, and 2 counties, Skamania and Ferry County, have none at all.
Local news is part of the basic civic infrastructure underpinning this country. We think of news, usually we think of major news outlets. We think of the New York Times, we think of Washington Post, Wall Street Journal. But the truth of the matter is that most of the news in this country is actually small local outlets. That is the majority of them. And without such outlets, without access to information about communities in which residents and citizens live, your ability to self-govern, to make decisions about your own community are completely hampered. The very fabric of these communities can be undermined because people simply don't know what's going on and how to follow what's going on within the city halls, within school boards, within police stations, and so forth.
Now, when looking at the number of news outlets by population, they say Southwest Washington has the least coverage for its population size. Well, we had some questions about that one because many Portland area news outlets cover Southwest Washington, including all of the TV stations. But the researchers said they only included outlets located in Washington state that primarily serve a Washington audience. The researchers say the news desert crisis is coming from a few fronts. Advertising revenue going to big tech companies like Google and Meta. News outlets have been slow to respond to changes in technology and how people get their news. And there's less trust in the media, and news outlet ownership is shifting. The researchers say about a third of Washington's news outlets are owned by out-of-state national chains. They say the journalists they talk to are feeling the pinch.
One thing that really hit home with me is how precarious the profession can be. So we heard different interviewees say how the journalism pipeline has cracks, where you have difficulty, where a news organization might have difficulty recruiting or retaining journalists, in part because the salary is low sometimes, and it makes it difficult for a journalist to live in the place where they work, which of course has implications for their ability to get to know the community in which they're reporting on and things of that nature. We also heard how passionate journalists are about their work and how they view it as a vocation. And yet, some of them interviewed said that they had to leave the profession for a period of time because they just couldn't afford to stay in it.
The researchers say it's up to the whole community to treat journalism like it's part of the local infrastructure because everyone benefits.
There's a lot of distrust in the news media right now. What we do see is that there is greater trust in local journalism than there is in national journalism, that it matters if journalists are seen in their communities and they're seen as members of those communities. And I think it's also important to say you don't have to like local journalism to benefit from it. Local journalists hold public officials accountable. Even if you don't subscribe to your paper or you don't watch the nightly news, you benefit from that watchdog role that journalists play in ways that we often don't recognize. Again, journalism isn't something we have to like or love for it to serve us in meaningful ways in communities.
Well, now it's your turn to weigh in. If you watch this show, you obviously consume local news and enjoy our deeper dives. But give us your take on the local news landscape, both in the state of Washington and right here in Oregon. Email the story at kgw.com or call and leave a voicemail 503-226-5090.